Hello and welcome to the David67 YouTube channel. Today, Thursday, the 26th of October, just going to do a live stream version of my post-match review rather than a video. I'm not sure just how much I'm going to say, and the videos are fixed at 30-minute maximum, and just in case I start talking too much and rambling on, which I am a bit prone to do. So before we crack on with the live stream, please do, if you can, click the subscribe button for the channel. Keep those subscriber numbers slowly increasing. If also possible, click the like for this live stream, and do feel free to pop any comments into the chat section for this or into the comment section if watching the game. If watching the live stream delayed in video form. Also going to be popping in later today a quiz question linked to Celtic versus Hibs, as that's our next fixture in a couple of days' time. And as always, feel free to pop any comments, etc. in. And also, if you can, please pass on the details of the channel to other friends and family and colleagues who you think may be interested watching these videos and getting a different sort of opinion on Celtic, the team, the players, the manager, etc. So obviously, if I'd been offered a 2-2 draw at the start of the game, and a draw was the result that I predicted in yesterday's video, I would have bitten off your hand. I think a 2-2 draw against Atletico Madrid is a really good result. They are one of Europe's elite teams. They are very much in the running for being champions of Spain this year, having beaten Real Madrid a couple of weeks ago in their Madrid derby. They will go top of the table if they win their game in hand over the teams above them. And they are a very experienced, very well set up team with a world-class manager. And they have a bench of players to bring on if needed to change the tactics, change the style. And even though they did come into the match with 5 first-team players out injured, they seem to have a brilliant set of subs to bring on. And largely it was their substitutions at the start of the second half that did change the game to quite an extent. However, I do feel, and this may be a bit controversial, that Celtic very much had the chance to win that match 2-2, and we take off Luis Palma, who had shown a lot of very good skills. Obviously, Luis Palma scored a brilliant second goal that gave Celtic the lead going into half-time. Both Palma and Maeda and Kyogo were giving the defence and midfield a ball out to release the pressure. Palma had done very well, winning quite a few free kicks, which also allowed Celtic to restock and reset and get on the move. Thought he played with quite a lot of pace, intelligence, some really very good passes. Still probably needs to work a bit on his getting down the side and crossing into the box. However, I really liked the way that Maeda and Palma changed wings. And of course, it was Maeda's burst down the left, cross across the box. Palma, great first touch, and then brilliant shot into the far corner that was unstoppable. Some say that Rodgers took off Palma because he was on a yellow card. I think given the number of times that Luis Palma actually tackles anybody, his only other chance of getting another yellow card was probably with taking off his strip top for scoring Celtic's winner. that on the evening, and so I really don't think taking off one of our two wide players who was playing well and putting on a third central defender was a good idea. Of all Celtic's players, I think Greg Taylor in the second half did have a bit of a struggle. And so I personally didn't see a problem with bringing on Nat Phillips, but maybe moving Scales across to left back, a bit more of a rugged, strong presence on the left side of the defence and out wide. Scales also has the ability to get forward, make a pass, break things up in midfield. And so I think bringing on Phillips, taking off Taylor, allowing Scales to be a stronger defence down the left side, where a lot of Madrid's attacks came in the second half. We'd also retain the ability for Scales to get forward into midfield and even into the final third. Scales, perfectly good at attacking, perfectly good at passing, and able to do long crosses as well. Certainly not someone who's going to get to the byline terribly much, but I think given Celtic have three relatively small front players, getting to the byline and crossing in isn't necessarily required. So Nat Phillips, I think, played perfectly well when he came on. However, he isn't really the kind of player that we needed when they were down to 10 men for the last 10 minutes, plus 5 minutes of stoppage time. Scales, CCV simply playing for time, trying not to lose. They were perfectly happy of having gone down to 10 men to stay at 2-2. And I was very disappointed that when Celtic had the man advantage, had the crowd screaming and shouting and really supporting them very well, they had Madrid there for the taking. Just why we didn't bring on another attacking player. We could easily have gone to a back three with CCV or Johnston going off and allowing a player such as O to get on. Also really disappointed when we took off Kyogo and brought on Forrest. I really couldn't see the point of James Forrest. Brilliant player, tremendous servant to the club, great record of scoring for Celtic season after season after season. But it was a bit significant that he had been playing in the last two times we played at Atletico Madrid 12 years ago. And I think James Forrest has really no business being in the Celtics team for a Champions League fixture, unless absolutely necessary. We had players on the bench who could have come on, much better attacking wise. We could have moved Maeda and Kyogo through the middle. We could have put on O to play as a target man centre forward, allowing Kyogo to play off him, allowing O'Reilly and Maeda to come through and play inside forward roles. So I think in that last 15 minutes, I really could not believe that we didn't start being more attacking, throwing on an extra attacker. Madrid had Correa up front, having taken off Morata. Griezmann had dropped into midfield. They'd shut up shop. They weren't going for anything other than the point. And they, in the end, will be delighted. They will, of course, have suspended a player for next match, but they have plenty strength in midfield and should have a couple of their players back for the next match that missed yesterday's game. Going through the match, brilliant start to the game. Celtic very much on top. The crowd really fired up the players. Celtic got going. Brilliant move with Maeda, Kyogo, O'Reilly. Several great first touches. Lovely ball back by Kyogo. First time pass through the defence by O'Reilly. And then a lovely chipped shot past Oblak to put us 1-0 up. Celtic kept Madrid out of the game. Joe Hart didn't have terribly much to do. Defence played exceedingly well. Again, massively impressed with Liam Scales. I think he of the two played better. CCV a couple of times just looked a wee bit lacking for pace and positioning and isn't quite back to 100%, but happily Scales played very, very well. Johnson was his typical self, very good defensively, managed to get forward into midfield and further forward. I thought he had a great game. Joe Hart really had no chance with the second goal. He was incredibly unlucky with the penalty. He just got his fingertips to it, pushing it onto the post. The ball couldn't have rebounded better for Griezmann to hit the rebound into the goal. Probably had Hart not just got his fingertips on it, it probably would have sneaked in at the post. However, the fact that Hart got his fingertips to it meant that Griezmann could hit the rebound. Otherwise, Celtic would have been in there to clear the ball. With regards to the penalty, I thought it was exceedingly soft. There was contact between Taylor and the Atletico Madrid right wing back. One could say it was similar to the Lagerbielka foul in the match against Rangers, where the Rangers player kicked his foot that was about to kick the ball. That was given as a free kick, so we probably shouldn't really argue too much. It certainly seemed a soft penalty, the kind of penalty that quite often isn't given. And I think had it not been given by the referee, VAR wouldn't have got him to look at it again. It's one of those ones which wasn't it was a soft penalty, wasn't one that VAR was going to overturn, nor do I think it was one that VAR was going to give if the referee had chosen not to give it. One of those 50-50 calls, which sometimes goes for you, sometimes doesn't. Then, of course, as I said, brilliant goal by Luis Palma, wonderful shot. Really do like Maeda and Palma getting into the box, reminiscent of how Jota and Abada often do in previous seasons, quite very reminiscent of Scott Sinclair in Rodgers' first spell as Celtic manager, where Sinclair scored a lot of goals for Celtic, coming in off his wing to act as an inside forward when the ball was on the other side, and it really can bear fruit, as was the case last night. Going into the half, 2-1 up, great for Celtic. Simeone made a couple of substitutions, took off their left wing back, brought on Loriente, who I thought was a very important player. They got hold more of midfield. They got more purchase down the left side, our left side, their right side, putting Taylor under pressure. I think Maeda was running all over the place. He wasn't quite so able to track back and help out on the left side. Having taken off Palma, obviously took out that option of Palma dropping back and O'Reilly dropping back into that space to help out Taylor on the left side. And so I think Celtic, by not really responding straight away to Simeone's changes at half-time, allowed them to get a good foothold in the side. And then, as I said, when it went to 2-2, after that great header back across the goal by Morata, I think Celtic then should have put their foot back on the gas. The crowd were really behind them. Madrid, I think, were happy to get 1 point, particularly in that last 10 minutes plus 5 stoppage time. And so I do, in some ways, blame Rodgers for lack of ambition in his substitutions, lack of ambition in his tactics, particularly in that last 15 minutes. I don't think the substitution of Phillips for Palma was a good idea in the first place, nor did it work out well for Celtic. And Forrest for Kyogo, I thought, was a pretty nonsensical decision. There are many who seem to feel that Rodgers can do absolutely no wrong, and that everything he does turns to gold. He was a very successful manager the first time around. He's been successful in recent weeks. I feel Celtic's actually gone more back to the Ange Postecoglou style, adapted a little to Brendan Rodgers, rather than Rodgers really stamping his style of play on team, because this way of playing that Celtic's now doing isn't really what he did at Liverpool or Leicester or any of his previous clubs, nor was it really the style he played when he was with Celtic the first time. I will fully agree that he really seems to have brought on Scales and O'Reilly. They really have gone up a couple of notches in terms of ability, and I give credit to the coaching staff and Rodgers for that. I think some of his tactical decisions and selection decisions over the last few weeks have been rather dodgy. However, I think there was tremendous hope for Celtic. I thought the players played very well. I think the only player I would give a lesser grade to was Greg Taylor. And I think that partly was the fact that Rodgers' substitution took away the cover that was helping him down the left side. When we did go to three central defenders, it didn't really allow Johnston or Taylor further forward, as they were still giving a lot of pressure down both sides, particularly down Taylor's side, which didn't really allow Taylor to get forward and work as a wing back or further forward. And so I think that very much backfired. However, I think we can go into the game in Madrid in a couple of weeks' time with lots of hope. I think we can take these players on in Madrid. I think with a wee bit of luck, the odd deflection going in our way, the odd refereeing decision going in our way, I think we could easily get a point or even three away from home in Madrid, as they will be probably playing more attacking over there, as they will be needing to try and catch up with Feyenoord, who had their surprise 3-1 victory over Lazio. If the results rather go for us next time around, we could be going into the Lazio game with every chance of a point or three, and then a final match against Rotterdam, where we could be looking at getting third place, or at the very, very outside second place, although third place I think is probably the most we can hope for now that we got 1 point rather than 3 points last night. All I would also say is I hope UEFA don't come down heavily on Celtic for the breaking yet again of rules set down by UEFA. Celtic have had fines and bans, fines and criticism from UEFA in our last 4 games. SFA are also looking into the incidents at Kilmarnock and Hearts matches. And I think the last thing we need is to go into our final home match against Rotterdam with the stadium half full due to a stadium ban, or sections of Celtic Park shut down to home fans, or away fans being banned from our next 2 away fixtures. I do remember the corresponding match in 85, where Celtic had an empty stadium. We'd drawn the first leg 1-1. We had every chance of it knocking Atletico Madrid out of the Cup Winners' Cup that afternoon, because the game was played in the afternoon behind closed doors with 170 officials and journalists watching and no fans watching. I think the last thing we want is for us to go into our final match against Rotterdam, which may be the game that separates us from fourth or third, potentially second, but I think third's most we can hope for, with a reduced crowd or no home fans. And similarly, I think having a few thousand Celtic fans cheering us on in Rome and Madrid in our next two matches would really help Celtic fight on and get a point or two or more from those matches. So, lots of opinions, lots of thoughts, and some you may agree with, some you may disagree with. Always happy to discuss and debate, as everybody's opinions, as long as they're polite, are fully welcome. And so if you do want to add anything comments-wise, opinions-wise, do pop that into the comment section. And we can take it from there. As I say, we'll be popping in a quiz question later on this morning relating to Celtic versus Hibs, as that's our next game. It should be on Saturday, which, to the best of my recollection, there'll be a TV blackout for that, with no real ability to legally watch the game in Scotland. And we'll start tomorrow, which is Friday, with some Celtic versus Hibs previews for the match on Saturday, score predictions, player predictions, and also hopefully by then we'll have some further notice on the severity of Rio Hatate's injury. I would guess he's going to be out definitely for the game against Hibs, and then we can see from there. Thought Paulo Bernardo did okay replacing him. Didn't really get himself involved quite as much as I thought he did. He seemed to be playing deeper than he does when he plays for Portugal under 21s, and deeper than he did when he was playing in Portugal with Benfica and when on loan. And he didn't really seem to be given the role to replicate what Hatate has been doing for us the last few matches. Not sure whether that was Bernardo, whether that was Rodgers' instructions, but I did feel that Bernardo or McGregor should have been getting further forward to support the front three and support Matt O'Reilly. So that just about finishes things off for today. Tomorrow we will have a further wee reflection on the Atletico Madrid 2-2 draw and a preview of the Celtic versus Hibs match on Saturday, and also any news stories that are cropping up related to Celtic over the next 24 hours. So thanks for watching and listening to this live stream. Do, if you can, and you haven't already done so, click that subscribe button, like the live stream video also if possible, and do pop any comments, thoughts, opinions, preferably polite and constructive, into the comment section, and I'll reply either in reply form on the comment section or in tomorrow's video. So goodbye and hail, hail.